What's going on, traders? Welcome back to Start Swing Trading, where we talk all about the swing trading setups and take a look at what happened in the market today. Of course, this is kind of the time when we're all definitely talk all about that. We'll take a look at some of the swing trades that I've been in today. We did get out of Coke. I will let you guys know that. I took a really small little hit on Coke. I was trying to battle in there on that one. It was one of those trades that I wanted to really see it move. I don't really trade Coke often, but I was looking at kind of this pullback for like a push back towards 60 50s. And as it pulled back here, it started looking really good. I was averaged in around 60 right on the dot and was looking for this push back to 60 50. We got up there to 60 33s, and then it started just pulling back. Might have been a little bit picky here, but definitely I cut it here towards the 59.80s. We got cut out here on this little dip. We'll see what happens there on that Coke. Like always, you're not going to get them all. And this one was a really, really tiny because I could have given myself some more room on this name. But since it doesn't move as much, I didn't want to give myself too much on the pullback. Got out of that one. Let's talk a little bit about some other trades that I have been taking. Let's get into some other names here. Let's go to ASO. ASO is one that we took yesterday, and I'm keeping an eye out on this one. It's still in the green right now. I was like I went from red to green, red to green, red to green on this name. So looking to see if we're actually going to finally get the move here towards the close. I have 60.48 for the average now on ASO. We'll look to see if it gets that next level step up through 61 and 62. Of course, this is kind of like playing sympathy off of the Dick's Sporting Goods earnings. So we'll see what happens here. If this can continue lifting, would also like to see Dick's Sporting Goods maybe get there towards the 150. And then we'll look to see if that ASO Academy can take off through that 61 and 62. We'll see what happens there. Let's talk a little bit about some other ones. I want to really quickly run through these, and then we're going to get to our guest today. And sorry for the shorter show today, team. I promise from this week on, we'll be on Wednesdays from 3 to 4. We were kind of working with Grit Capital. They were going to go ahead and adjust their show. So like always, team, I want to let you guys know what happened there. SEDG is another one that I went and I added to today on the pullback. Average on this one is 32.38. So you guys can see we're slightly just above this VWAP right now on this pullback. This is a little bit of a bigger kind of price named, right? So it's going to have that big volatility. If you take a look here on the average true range, it's at 14.55. So it's going to move a lot during the intraday. I did take some pullback on this. Going to look to see if we can close above the 9 EMA and start curling back towards the 330s tomorrow. If that could happen, we'll be looking good in SEDG. Of course, there was another name in solar today that had a really good day. Max N continuing the lift there. Now we'll just look to see, can we just buy the dip there in for solar and it come right back up? You can see how that's pushing here towards the close. Same thing for ENPH. These are three that we've been talking about here on Start Swing Trading for solar names to keep an eye out. We'll just have to see what happens there in Solar Edge. There's another one that one thing that I've been trying to practice more and more of, team, and you guys know it because you guys have been starting to see me do it, is more long buy dips and sell the rips, right? Even if this means, sometimes selling the rip and looking for the stock to come back to me so that I could get back into the name and sell the next rip, right? Can't get mad about that. One of those names that I've been trying to do this on is X. Of course, you guys saw me take a little bit of a piece on this yesterday. Today, adding to the name, and now averaged around 29.18s on this one. Going to look for it to come right back to where we got it last time. Last time we had it at 28.87, rode that up there through the 30s to the 31, finally getting out some into the just slightly above 31. We'll look to see if this can push. Can it get back up there? Of course, sell the rip, buy the dip. We'll see what happens here in X and to see how it plays out. Now, there's one more that I want to mention with this style of play that I missed today, and it probably will turn out it could turn out to be the miss of the week, right? You never know. Right now, hindsight can be 2020. But we're watching for the similar style play on NTR, right? We got it on this rip, sold it on the rip, and was looking for a pullback towards 79.80 area to play this NTR again. And I got to say, this one, I'm a little frustrated that I missed this morning on the pullback towards 79.30s. This one's already up there towards 81. I would have got in somewhere in between here, between 80s and 79.50s. So it doesn't look like a bad play. And this one's going to go down as a miss, but sometimes you're going to miss them. And I think that the important thing is how I'm trying to attack these, right? The selling the rip and buying the dip has been working, especially as of late with this type of market where we get this chop action. I'd rather sell the rip than look for an extended move because we haven't seen that, right? If I would have held on to that 6% gainer for X, what would have happened? Well, I would have got stopped out break even on the rest, right? Well, there you guys have it. Taking that profits and running seems to be working for me as of late. All right, getting out of steel, we can take a look at what stocks were strong on the day, and we'll do that in a few minutes after our guest. Time to go ahead and get to our guest today. Of course, he came on last time. CMT is from Beat the Bench. And what I like about Scott is that he definitely keeps up with all different areas in the market. So you guys in the chat, if you guys have a question, feel free to drop it in. All right, let's bring on Scott Brown here. How are we doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course, great to have you back on Beat the Bench. If you guys haven't checked them out before, of course, they're more for kind of your institutional work. But one thing that I love is that you really keep up with the trends and what is the strength. You catch things that maybe some aren't. I know that you were talking about how even like the banks were coming like back and forth, back and forth. These kinds of information I think is very important for even the retail trader to get on, because one thing that I've been talking about on this show is that your short-term time frame trader on a 1 minute, well, there's going to be a lot of things that can go into that. But when we're talking the longer time frames, I think that that's when we're trading more with kind of the institutionals and the algos. And I feel like, they have big positions to get in. We got to find some edge there where we can play with the big boys. And a lot of that is keeping up with the rotation. What do you think about that, Scott?
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And you're right. I probably have a little bit more of a zoomed out, longer term perspective than, maybe a lot of the things that you're featuring on this show. But I think it's also important, technical analysis on multiple time frames. And you really, really stack the odds in your favor when you got kind of trends working long term, medium term, and short term. If you're living in those 5-minute charts, but you can have an upward bias on a longer term and a short term, I think that increases kind of the probability of success. And, I've actually, it's funny, and I've got some of the charts that I brought, some of the things that I've been looking at, big setups, more big picture are exactly some of the things you were just talking about. The TAN ETF, all those solar names and the steel names. I mean, TAN really looks like it wants to move big time. But there's always that intraday volatility. But there's a huge triangle going on, like 2 years in TAN. And then those steel names, I mean, they just there's not really any better trends out in the market right now over the past year than steel names.
Yeah, definitely. The chat having some fun. They're talking about some Pink Floyd. So welcome to the Scott Brown machine. Let's take a look. Let's go underneath the hood. Let's take a look at some of those charts. I always love your charts. Let's get into it here. You can go ahead and hit the present there at the bottom. And you guys in the chat, what are you guys having some fun on out there? Talking about a little Pink Floyd out there. Got to have a little love for Pink Floyd. All right, Here's the great charts from Scott. We'll get right to them. What are we looking at here, Scott?
Yeah, so I got a few different things that I wanted to talk about, but we can stick with those steel names we're talking about. Just again, the long-term setup. I mean, this is a little bit overbought for sure on kind of a daily basis, just hitting an RSI of 70. But I mean, something that you want to be looking really to buy on pullbacks. And this is Steel Dynamics, STLD, relative leader, just straight up uptrend in a market that isn't providing too many of those. And then very, very similar story for Reliant Steel and Aluminum, ticker RS there. A little bit overbought, probably due for a pullback on my time horizon. But this is absolutely something that I think, you're just not going to find too much more relative strength than that. If we want to look at something that's not showing relative strength, my friend and the very great technician John Roque had a great note out yesterday talking about the weakness in regional banks. And we look at some individual opportunities on the short side. There's a lot of charts that have already broken down in relative terms and look like they want to go, in absolute terms next. So again, this is a bigger picture chart, but you can really get in there on the shorter time horizons, be very, very tactical. This is MTB, M&T Bank. A break of this support line looks like it's coming in the next day or so, and that gives you a pretty high risk reward for shorting this and using that as your stop loss. Same thing for Zion Bank Corporation. A break of this 45, 50 line or so looks like it'd be a very, very quick trip to about $40 a share. Relative charts already broken down. And then PNC. I mean, just look how clean this line is. The more times you test this, it's just very, very hard to feel positive about this, especially when you've got, tens minus twos, the yield curve that's inverted by 100 basis points for the first time since 1981. Just not a very healthy thing, not a very healthy environment for banks right now.
Nice catch here. I definitely have been looking at the banks, but I've been, stuck in the big boys, and sometimes you can miss that. Definitely PNC chart looks interesting there. I saw a couple of them. So this is something definitely that I'm gonna have to pay attention to. I wonder how that really will play out. Also, just comparing it to like a big boy. I know that I've been focused on like Goldman Sachs chart, that just been like kind of chopping up and down from 340s to 370s, up and down, up and down. So I'm going to keep a close eye to see how that kind of comes into play. Maybe these regional banks are leading a little bit of the turnaround first. I'll keep an eye out also how that plays into some of the bigger banks. What else you got for me today, Scott?
Well, last time I was on the show, I know you were in and out on the short side of some Tesla. Again, for my time horizon, I like Tesla short on a lot of time horizons. I mean, we all know about the big kind of 2-year topping pattern. It's this 100% rally has really been nothing more back than what looks like a very classic throwback to the neckline. And now it looks like we're failing. You got a shorter term topping pattern. And then I tried to, bring living in the daily with you. I mean, this is the 5-minute chart here, but you've got this consolidation. Consolidations tend to resolve in the direction of the underlying trend. And that trend is down on a daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you want to have basis for Tesla. So I think, it looks like about 180 even would be the break to new lows on the daily chart. Yeah, 180.05. It looks like it's roughly the daily low for Tesla. So a break of that looks like it would set up another, short term $2.50 of downside. But again, I don't like Tesla really. I think we just trade anywhere back down to the lows from January. I think are fair game for the chart of Tesla.
Definitely, Tesla's is definitely a hard one. I mean, I've gotten it right, wrong on both sides of the game, right? I think that it's one of those that when you have a tendency to catch one of those trend moves, right? Like we see it on the chart where it has those moves where it really goes. I think those are the ones that we got to catch. And when we're in consolidation station in Tesla, it's difficult. I will say that now that we've cut through those lows, I wonder if we ever get back there to that 200. Or maybe it might be closer towards 50% retracement of that recent move from that 100 to above 200. Who knows? Maybe we get back down towards the 150s in that area.
A little bit of a gap there, though. It would make a lot of sense to at least fill that, even if we don't actually visit the lows. One thing that's on the beat the bench concentrated equity buy list that looks pretty good here. CrowdStrike having a decent day after earnings. That percent there is a little bit off because it's going off the intraday using after hours things. But it broke out up above 126 earlier. You already had this small inverse head and shoulders pattern, broke out above 108. But now this is kind of a bigger one, and this potentially targets about 160 on CrowdStrike. So again, we're kind of running into a little bit of resistance from this gap here in the low 130s. But I think this is still an area that's hitting 3-month relative highs. The semiconductors, or I'm sorry, the cybersecurity stocks look pretty strong. I'm seeing a lot of strength From there, a lot of those software names too have kind of really turned a corner in 2023, and so an upward bias towards this stock and that space, again, makes sense to me on really any time horizon. Talking about semiconductors, one that looks like it wants to make a run back towards the highs is ON on semiconductor.
Yeah.
A little bit of a false breakout it looked like, but then responded to that 50-day moving average. I think if you're up above 76, this is just a continued relative leader and something that really, really held up very strong in 2022.
Yeah, and I think that, one thing to know, I mean, is that this on has literally just been on pretty good since about 2020. Looks like I got my camera cut off there for a second, but I'll be back. But you can see there, I mean, that's just been a really nice trend. And those pullbacks, it seemed like the decent opportunities. You mentioned the 50-day there. You could see it turning around. There was multiple bottoms at that 60 level just back there in December. Looks like that was definitely a decent one to kind of catch on semiconductor. And I feel like a lot of people talk about this one, but it kind of goes underneath the radar right now.
It still does. It's still not as sexy as, NVIDIA and things like that. But I think it's going to start catching people's attention if it keeps acting like this.
Yeah, the trend's your friend. I mean, even for 23, it's still having a decent 23, up about 34%. So we'll see what happens there in on semiconductor. Any other ones for me before you get out of here, Scott?
One more that just really sticks out that just broken down. Now we're a little bit oversold on an intermediate term basis. J&J here is about 10% below its 200-day moving average. That's roughly been, as extreme as it gets outside of the COVID bear market in the last decade. But it's just another one of these healthcare names. Healthcare has been so weak this year, and this really just broke down below a key support point. I do like, even though it's stretched, I kind of like these trade setups where it's just you broke down, you've retested 156 to the underside now. You can just kind of be short this name and use that as your stop loss. A lot of weak charts, potential short opportunities in the healthcare sector, especially ironically with the most defensive type names. Centene, another healthcare name that's on the 52-week low list today. It looks like an attractive short.
Yeah, these have definitely turned around, and a lot of people thought that these would be the area that we would be looking at even into this year. But like always, the rotation can just change like that on a dime. If you guys want to keep up with all this outlook, and of course, check out some of these charts, keep up with everything that Beat the Bench does, you guys can look at the description below. Definitely give an ad there. You can click on his Twitter and definitely keep up with all his tweets. I definitely would take a look at that. And of course, take a look at the Substack so that you guys can go ahead and get on it. Beat the Bench. We'll have you back on, my friend. Appreciate you coming on. Scott Brown. Appreciate
Thanks
it. CMT, as you guys see it. One day, I hope to be there with you, my friend. I'm pushing, Scott. I'm trying to get there.
Hey, you need a sponsor when you pass those tests. I got you, Mitch.
Hey, of course. I'll be working hard for it, Scott. We'll see you next time. Appreciate you coming on. All right, there's Scott Brown. You guys can definitely check him out, and I'd give him a follow, team. I really do like checking out his post. And one thing's for sure, Scott takes it serious. And so if you want to follow some good serious traders, that's what I try to do on here. So check him out at Scott Charts. And just to make it easy, I want to throw up the link here so that you guys can also check out his Twitter there. Boom. You guys just give him the click, give him a follow. Let's get back to the markets. Let's take a look at what's going on. I was looking even at that Johnson & Johnson. Looks like we just started getting a little bit of some up action here in the overall market towards the close. And not a bad close, at least for me. This is actually really getting my trades in the green. Every single trade that I have right now in the swing in the green. The only one that's really close to kind of break even is Sprouts Farms, but I got no problem with this chart. Look at this chart, team. I took this one. This is the new trade of the day. I saw the pullback. I could see KR really strong as of late. Look at this recent move here in the grocery stores. So I was looking for a little bit to try to ride that up there. So I went with Sprouts Farms on this pullback. I can see kind of the 9 EMA holding here slightly below the 33s. So I'm going to look for the 33s to start holding now and really just start giving us a drive back here towards 34, 35. We'll see what happens there in Sprouts. And what I like is that you can see here on the daily how we kind of like broke out and we're coming back here towards kind of like a throwback look. If we could really get back here towards these kind of highs, back towards the 35, I think we'll be looking good in Sprouts Farmers. And X looking nice here as it's starting to close there towards 29.50s. Of course, we got this one like I talked about, sell the rip, buy the dip. I'm trying to do it in X. We'll see how that one turns out. NTR, really miss of the day, team. Been a little bit be frustrated about this one. Talked about it in pre-market prep that I was looking for NTR on pullbacks below 80 towards 79.50, somewhere in between there. Wasn't a bad move. Started to recover. I also like MOS, but going to look for this one to get into the 53 handle tomorrow to see if I could buy the dip on Mosaic Company. Of course, this is all potash trade. Going to look at steel trade. We've talked about that. How's Cleveland Cliff and some of these other ones looking like they're closing? Nucor starting to come back. Steel Dynamics starting to come back. This one wasn't looking too bad. Earlier in the day, I was watching this one as it was just kind of hanging in here, looking for the next push. I like the 9 EMA off the Steel Dynamics move also back towards 135. We'll see what happens there. And SEDG getting into the green, the solar name, was able to add towards it on the pullback today. Now we'll look to see if we can get back there towards 330 on the swing. Today, utilities actually led the market. Well, real estate and then utilities. We're slightly behind it now. Real estate getting a little bit of an uplift. I don't trade too many of those, but utilities staying strong. So be careful out there with those utility names. And a water play starting to make a move. I haven't seen these water plays make a move in a long time. We'll see if this can actually make a move, CWCO. But not a bad move here for certain stocks. Definitely getting a lift. American Airlines. This is one that we've been holding on, have already taken one profit take at the 4%. So we're going to look for this one now to keep going through towards the 17. Had this one since 1586. Still have a piece left. Let's see if this can keep closing towards the upside. I would look for also United Airlines that have a nice little push here towards the close. Doesn't look too bad. And I saw Save starting to make its way back. So at least that stock that did affect us got hit a little bit, bouncing back a little bit. Let's take a look at some stocks that you guys are catching in the chat. It's about 3:53. We got about 7 minutes left. Hit the thumbs up out there, team. We're having another great day here. You guys throw up some stocks. It's your chance now. Technology bouncing back overall. This seems to me like the strongest sector right now. You can see how it's starting to curl back. So keep your eyes on, of course, our high cap names to see if they can keep us strong here in these tech names. Microsoft, can it get a move back? Apple still looked good. I was able to trade Apple earlier today for a day trade, but keeping an eye out on it because it looks strong to me. Gets back through 155. We can get to 160. And that's definitely going to help the market. So watch out there. Google starting to come back, still holding in there. NVIDIA, new high, at least nice little intraday high, starting to push there. We'll look to see how that can continue pushing. Got back through that 238. So this looks like it can keep moving. And my best day trade today was AMD. A little part of me wishes I kept a little bit of a piece on this one because, man, nice push back there towards the upside on AMD. Good move today on some of the tech stocks. Rivian. Oh, I'm not touching this one, man. If you guys want to go after it, I can't blame you if you're using kind of the lows. I'm waiting for $7 on Rivian, but that's going to take a while to get there. We'll find out. All right, Coin is one that I think is starting to pull back a little bit. We'll see what happens on names like this. Let's go to the SPY and take a look at our leading stocks to the upside. Of course, on semiconductor, we just talked about that. ANET coming up here, DXY. Warner Brothers still hanging in there. That's interesting. Interesting pattern there. You can see how you're trying to reclaim right back here. Nice little pattern to the back towards the upside. This one actually doesn't look too bad. And what I like is that it's starting to like hold this 1475. Could make a move back to 16. We'll find out what happens there. CTLT. Well, this one looks like it's trying to hold this kind of bottoming towards 66.71s. AMD, we talked about AMD already. NVIDIA doing well today. DLR, that's kind of your REIT Life, KLAC, semiconductor equipment, getting a little bit of a bounce here from a longer term support. This doesn't look too bad on a monthly outlook, but really needs to get back through the 400. This one isn't that bad. Just got to be careful because this one is a more expensive stock. So definitely you got to look at it on a bigger time frame. I kind of like it on the monthly, KLAC, but of course, this one's a little bit of a higher play. Be careful. LRCX, very similar stock that's also doing well right now. Lamb Research, I kind of like this above the 500, bouncing off the 480s. Can it get back in the 500 and start to push to the 520s? All right, overall, SEDG now really looking better as it's starting to close with a nice green drive here. So solar, not looking too bad. We can take a look at TAN ETF. Will we get this one to start making a move? I do like the outlook here off the monthlies, right? We've talked about this for a while now. Now, if I wanted to get in, I could risk off the 74.30s here, and that's about what, $4 here. So I'm risking about 5%. I'd have to at least make 10%, if not 15% on the gain, which would be a move towards 90. So I got to keep that in mind with TAN. I'm going to keep watch to see what happens with this. Can it actually move? We'll take a look at this. Will it get back there through the 80s? That's what we'll be watching for tomorrow. Not a bad stock to watch. ETF, TAN. Solar, baby. All right, 357. What else is being called out in the chat? NVIDIA not flushing at the end of the day like the last couple of days. It's good to see, right? I think to me, we don't have Powell speaking tomorrow, right? Could this mean that we start driving back through the 400? I don't know, but I can say at least we're definitely starting to push. All right, going to keep an eye out on another one. One that I was thinking about getting into was Deere, but I didn't take the shot on this one right now. I could still go off of it for like the 420 move off the 420s, but I wanted to risk off 417 and get it at 420s. Could have done it earlier in the day. We'll see what happens there in Deere. With that one being said, I like Picard to continue moving. I already got rid of it, so I'm a little frustrated on that one. So I was looking to try to ride some of the momentum with Deere and Cat maybe coming right back. We'll see what happens on some of these trades. Square, 78 for the swing. To tell you the truth, and that I can't blame you for that 78 on the swing for Square. I was looking at it also. I can see this kind of hourly levels, and I can see that you're kind of holding in there. Can you make the move back to 80? I like how you got that opening wick down. That kind of helps when you get these kind of little wick downs where you can get some volume to fill in. Now I'd really want it to hold 77, but doesn't look too bad. We'll see what happens there in Square. PayPal hasn't been doing too bad also. So nice little close action there from PayPal. American Airlines with a nice little lift here towards the close, and a lot of stocks lifting here towards the close. So really not going to be too bad now. And even Sprouts Farms starting to get into the green there for me. We'll look to see if KR can have a nice close here. Boom. Kroger's with a nice little lift there. We'll see. Doesn't look too bad right now. Meta, SRT8. This one's strong right now. I don't know if I'd be fighting. It looks a little bit to me like a cup and handle pattern, but what would need to happen here, team? Well, it needs to pull back and create that kind of, so this is the cup pattern. Now we're trying to create that handle. That to me is a pullback to 180 and then a breakout back through the 190s going to the 200. But that's just my outlook, right? You guys can always disagree. I always like to let you guys know, take everything I take with a grain of salt. BAC. Pulling back. Looks like the banks. Remember, we just talked about regional banks are struggling, but global banks are starting to pull back also. This looks very bearish to me on Bank of America today. Take a look at Wells Fargo. Not looking good there. JP Morgan is the one that I'm going to be looking for potentially to short if I start really seeing these break down. But that seems like a hard break to me at 140 today. And I'll see what happens here to the JPM, but if it can't get back up there, and let's say it attempts to get to like 139 tomorrow, then rejects, I might even be looking for this for short opportunities. We'll see what happens there. They don't look strong. Goldman Sachs had been pulling back to the 340s. Will it break it this time on the downside? Keep your eyes out for that type of move. All right, it's 4 p.m. Last one I'll take a look at is Max N for Brian. I got you, man. Max N is a solar name. Really nice push here towards the highs. You don't get this move too often. Nice little move right back through these daily highs. And this could really get moving. Now, you got to be careful with pullbacks because pullbacks can happen on a name like this, right back towards maybe like 25s. But that's a really nice close there for Max N. Makes me feel more confident being in the solar names with my SEDG. We'll see what happens on this. We'll see what happens tomorrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names in the green towards the close. We'll just have to find out tomorrow if we can take some of that money and run, baby, because that's this type of market. And we'll keep battling. Like always, you guys can smash the like, enjoy everything. Let me know what you guys like or don't like about Start Swing Trading. And I'm going to do my best to make this the best swing trading show out there. And probably the only one out there, but I hope you guys enjoy getting some of my trading ideas, how I'm working to get better. We're talking about it. Sell the rip, buy the dip mentality in this market really truly has been working. And today NTR is going to be a miss. And sometimes you are going to have a miss. The only thing you can do, just shake it off, baby. Shake it off. Keep looking at charts. Keep looking at setups, finding the rotation, looking for the moves, right? Because if we can catch that rotation, that's really when we get that nice little lift. Today, nice little close towards the end. SPY getting back there towards 398, almost right back to the 400. And so that shows me that we could have had just fake outs while Powell was going on, and we could get that rebound right back to the upside. It's going to be what? Flexible. Flexible has been what's been doing well for me, whether it be shorting, whether it be longing, whether it be taking success. After I make a trade on AMD, things like this, being truly flexible is really helping me right now. Hope you guys keep upping your skill, and I hope that this show can help you guys get to that next level. Smash the like. I'll see you guys next time, and I'll see you bright and early on Pre-Market Prep.